As all good Catholics know, it's never too early to begin preparing for Lent. Hey, I'm Father Mark Mary with the Franciscan Friars of the Renewal, and this is Ascension Presents. All right, I got an idea that we're going to talk about, which is good and worthy all times of the year, but I think it is actually particularly a good thing to maybe think about doing during Lent. And it's kind of a big thing, which is why we're talking about it a couple of weeks before Ash Wednesday. And basically what we're going to talk about is this. It's like this, removing some things that you're like, we're going to talk about entering into the desert and allowing God to actually be your security and your rest, and also doing some stuff that's just reasonable and good for your own well-being, peace of mind, relationship with Jesus. And what I want to begin with this is just to make this observation that you and I as human beings have this tendency to constantly want to be consuming. And it's consuming not just because we want to have something that like feels good or tastes good or is interesting, but we actually find a security in this ongoing consuming. And it's nothing new to 2022 or whenever you're watching this video, right? Like if you look back at when like smoking like really like took off, there's this attraction to always having something that takes the edge off but also gives a little bit of pleasure, right? In other ways, we see this with the creation of diet soda, right? We want to always be drinking this thing that tastes good, but we have to do one in a way which is a little bit more sustainable. So there's diet soda. Like vaping was a big thing. There is like snacking all over the place. There's this like huge hitting of the scene of the bubbly waters, right? And now they're everywhere. And what's that about? Like I want to always have something like fizzy and cold with a little taste, something like that, because I want to always have something that I can be taking in with radio, with the streaming of all sorts of things, with social media, right? The reason we're always kind of grabbing and grasping and using these things and picking it up and putting it down and picking it up again and drinking and snacking is because it's part of this human condition. We love the pleasure and we love the taste and we love to feel good. But also that's fascinating. Like if you've ever tried to really step back from social media, if you've ever tried to cut back from snacking or leave one of these habits behind, the interior experience is actually one of fear. Like if you've tried fasting, it's this fascinating thing. It's like there's an insecurity and there's a fear and there's a little bit of an anxiety because I've come to find some comfort and security in these things. But often the fruit of them is actually more insecurity and more anxiety. And when the Lord invites us into the desert, and he invites us to a more radical dependence on him, and when he invites us to leave a lot of this stuff behind, at the heart of it is two things: creating space for him to be our consolation, and also creating space for him to be our security. If we're always trying to find our sweetness and our security in creation and not the creator, we're going to be in trouble. And the desert experience, the desert invitation, is an invitation to be renewed in this relationship with him, allowing him to be the source of our consolation and him to be the foundation of our authentic security. What I'm going to do is propose this. I'm actually going to base it off of the methods of like elimination diets, Whole30s, things like this, right? There are these types of practices that are very, very popular. So we're able to do them. There's these types of practices where people cut out certain things from their lives for a series of time, and then slowly, one by one, they reintegrate them to sort of cleanse the palate and see how their body actually responds to these particular things, right? So maybe you're going to cut out dairy, and you're going to cut out gluten, and you're going to cut out sugar, and after 30 days, whatever it is, like you've kind of found your equilibrium again. And then when you introduce sugar, you can pay attention to how your body actually responds to that. Or when you reintroduce dairy, whatever. You guys know Whole30 or whatever better than I do. What I propose is this, is actually looking at areas in our life where we are having our kind of dependence, we're finding security on many things, or which we just have these almost like addictions to, but part of us knows like they're bad for us. And can we, particularly during Lent, for a season of time, if it's 30 days, if it's a couple of months, if it's all of Lent, take a step back from them. So what could these be? Certainly these could be food, these could be snacking, these could be streaming, they could be what the entertainment we're listening to. I'd like to actually focus on the media material that we're consuming. particularly social media. I've just seen, we're in a mission trip for a week, everybody's happy and clappy and smiley. We hit the airport back in the country, you get Wi-Fi or you get your data back, and the phone turns on and the anxiety goes from 0 to 100 like that, right? And it's like, wait, hold on, like you were happy and now you're anxious. The addition was Instagram. Like, let's take a look at that and see if that is really good for you and good for your relationship with Jesus. So my proposal is this. Let's say, at least for Lent, can you take a step back from social media? Take a step back. You probably will experience fear when you're making this decision. Like, but what am I going to do about this or that? Allow the Lord to be your security. Allow the Lord to be your security. Take a step back. Give it a minute. Give it some time. Go through these like real kind of withdrawal stuff that you're going to experience. Get a little refresh for your body, for your interior person, right? Like we do this kind of like with our physical health. We can do this with our mental health. It makes a ton of sense. And then slowly, maybe reintroduce whatever it is, Facebook, reintroduce Snapchat, reintroduce Instagram, whatever it is that you feel like you want to reintroduce, okay? Maybe you take all of these things out and you feel like better than you've ever felt before. Great. Then don't bring them all back. Like that's a good thing. If you want to go like the ninja challenge, if you want to go full steam on this, I realize this isn't for most people, but for those who are willing to really put in the work. And again, with all this health stuff, people put in a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of planning. This makes sense for our own relationship with Jesus in particular. For example, if you're gonna take a step back from Instagram, like what I would say is like take a list of all your followers, make a list of it, screenshot it, whatever it is, go through it and just sort of categorize it real quick. Like, okay, this is family, these are close friends, these are extended friends, these are coworkers, these are people that I'm just interested in, etc. So you find your different groups, and then one by one, as you would do in the reintroduction of different types of food in a cleanse or one of these elimination diets, I'm going to put in my family, and I'm going to do that for a week. And when I'm just following my family, I'm going to pay attention to how that does or does not affect me. Okay, and if it becomes really problematic, okay, maybe I'm not going to do that. If there's no big deal, okay, I'm going to introduce close friends. I'm going to introduce coworkers, but right, one at a time. And what this will allow you to do is actually get a real like judgment and real observation for how these different groups actually affect you. Because often it's like, okay, I want to have this thing. I know it's not really good for me. I know it causes me anxiety. I know this, that, and the other thing, but I want to have it for staying in touch with my family. But then you actually go like full send and you have this huge thing and you're seeing stuff and learning about stuff which isn't helpful for you and causes you anxiety and causes you fear or causes you to constantly be scrolling, and it affects your own peace and it actually draws you and distracts you from the Lord. All right. So again, the idea is this, like, hey, let's recognize the fact that you and I have a tendency to constantly consume. And it's been happening universally for a heck of a long time. Now we're just better at it and we have more resources to really do it, okay? Part of that is allowing creation to play the role that the Creator is meant to play. Particularly, He desires to be the satisfaction of all of our desires. He desires to provide for us. He desires to be our security and our rest. Lent invites us into a greater surrender and a greater vulnerability and a greater confidence so that He can be who He says He is. He can be our consolation. He can be our security. And so let's take a step back from some of these false securities that we have, particularly in the media thing. If you really struggle with it, I would really recommend praying about and discerning and asking for the courage to be really bold in this, to take a big step back and to categorize what you're using, to categorize those you're following, etc., and slowly reintegrate them and pay attention to how it affects you, and be prudent enough and be strong enough to take a step back from those things which are harmful for your own good and which ultimately draw you away from the Lord. There's going to be more to come. We're talking about having the best Lent ever. It's our time to shine as Catholics. We're really good at Lent. Please know of my prayers for you, and thank you for watching. We will see you again next week. Somos peregrinos. We are pilgrims on this earth. Poco a poco, little by little, vamos a llegar. We're going to make it. God bless y'all.